From LALATE News Headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Mornings LALATE.
It's a big morning of Mornings LALATE as I'm back with exciting great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. In today's recording, we'll go over that monthly stimulus check and why the Democrats are likely to give you more months of checks. Then we cut to the recon. Deal done. $3.5 trillion of checks are coming to the American people. In this recon, it's a checks for lots of people, including seniors and workers. This is not third stimulus, the children's checks. This is fourth. I'll go over all the incredible details. And the vote likely to be set for this in the next 24 hours as well. Then, in the final 15 of the final 7, a lot of breaking news you're going to hear for the very first time on this morning's LA broadcast. An extension of the eviction moratorium, an emergency meeting held overnight, an emergency meeting between Nancy and Bernie Sanders about your recon, an emergency meeting held about the bipartisan as well, and another vote set for today, in addition to the vote that I just talked about, and this is for the bipartisan. Why a second vote? I'll explain all the details, and the promise that we're all going to be done by the August recess. Yes. Then we cut to fifth stimulus, which raises your benefits up with a new benchmark. But what about those breaking news from Wall Street and those new economic data? I'll explain all the details. And then you are absolutely killing it. Numbers I have never seen in the history of this channel. 3 to 4 or 5 viewers getting $25,000 of rent in the last 24 hours. Viewers getting $35,000 of rent and utilities combined. I'm going to explain you how you can get $25,000 to $35,000 from this channel right away. It's a big morning. It's a big day. The toast is toasting. The butter is buttering. Let's get to the deliciousness starting right here on Mornings LALATE. With you live from Santa Monica on this beautiful day. The weather's cool, the weather is crisp, it's sunny, a little bit of breeze, not hot. How's the weather where you are? Jump in the live chat and tell me where you're tuned in from and how's the weather. A full schedule of new programming today. I'll be back with you with Mornings Crypto right after this live on air, noontime live on air, and then afternoons and evenings LA, all live shows with this blue. It's not muddled, so don't call it muddled. But congratulations to the viewers. I mean, these numbers are incredible. Mark getting nearly $35,000 from this channel. Nancy getting, oh my God, I mean, it's almost $36,000 from this channel. More about them in a second. But first, your fourth stimulus check update 2021. The Democrats are likely to give you more months of checks. I'll explain all the details first in this video. Then we'll be cutting to the recon. Done deal. $3.5 trillion of checks are coming to the American people. This is checks for my seniors, checks for workers. I'm really excited for you. I'm going to show you what all this big deliciousness is in this recon and why this recon is likely to get a vote as well in the next 24 hours. Then in the final 15 minutes of this video, what I call the final 15 to 7, you're going to see what's happening in the next 7 days, and it is a jam-packed 15 minutes. I just recorded Afternoons LA, and trust me, it was so jam-packed, I don't even know how I got it through. There's a lot happening. There were emergency meetings, no less than 3 emergency meetings overnight. There was an emergency statement from one Democrat. There is another moving part. There's a lot happening, and the promise is all getting done by the August recess. Yes. Then we cut to fifth stimulus, which raise your benefits up, and that is the new benchmark of inflation. And then finally, the big money that viewers continue to get, like Nancy, who got $24,000 of rent, $7,000 for utilities, and $5,000 for SNAP. I'm going to show you how you get all this big money as well. And this is LALATE, America's only 24-hour day, 7 days a week financial news channel in America. Live in the morning like today, where I'm live with you with Mornings Crypto, and then noontime at 11 a.m., and then taped in the afternoons with new shows today like Afternoons and Evenings LALATE. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, YouTube record. I want you part of this channel. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Let's get right to the details starting right now. Monthly stimulus checks, House versus Senate. But boy, pandemic really has changed in the last 7 days. Pandemic versus 1 plus 1 year. House bill, monthly stimulus checks. Senate approach July to December. Let's compare the payouts. House bill, $1,000 after the first month of $2,000. Senate payout monthly unknown. But word on the street is the Senate would pay you this. Deliciousness. $2,000 over 6 months, $12,000. Or $1,400 over 6 months, $8,400. If you've been watching the news, you've seen how things have changed so quickly. 4 weeks ago, we thought maybe the pandemic's over. 3 weeks ago, we realized it's definitely not over. 2 weeks ago, we realized it's really not over. And now we realize it's far from over. Pandemic raging out of control as Delta is now the dominant strain in 50 states, raging cases, and now even a concern that 1 million cases are being spread daily by even vaccinated people. It's just all out of control. But the issue is, how many months of checks would you get? Well, House bill is pandemic plus 1 year. So the House bill would pay more than 12 checks, which would be more than 12 months. And those 12 checks would be more with the House than $13,000. Those checks would be more than 12 checks, which would be more than $13,000 from the House. Let's compare that to this in the Senate. I think you have an opinion. Vote House or Senate. House or Senate. Jump in the live chat and tell me where you're tuning in from. And how's the weather? Who gets this fourth stimulus check? Democrats represent that you've got a third, you get a fourth. A single individual, 75,000 or less. Democrats represent you get a fourth stimulus check. Married couple, 150,000 or less. Democrats represent you get a fourth stimulus check. Double it. Did I say family for it? No, I meant a married couple, 150,000 or less. Democrats represent you get a fourth stimulus check. Double it. Family of four, Democrats represent you get a fourth stimulus check. Quadruple it. And then if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, VA, Democrats represent you get a fourth stimulus check. The fourth stimulus check is not income. It's not taxable. The fourth stimulus check would be the same amount for adult dependents and everyone else. And the fourth stimulus check is a monthly check, not a waivable check. I learned my lesson about that last weekend. I was at Mitch's Lobster Fest, and I saw him from afar, but I didn't want to wave. So I walked up. I said, "Hello, Senator McConnell." "Hello, LA. I recognize you from your purple shirts." "Oh, well, thank you, Senator McConnell. I saw you from afar, but I didn't want to wave, so I walked up." "No, LA, I'm not a waivable check." "Well, Senator McConnell, you're also not a monthly stimulus check. Get out of here, LA." That was the end of my tenure at the Lobster Fest. Next stop, the Jollapal, cocktail hour. The fourth stimulus check recon deliciousness is heating up. That recon deal done, $3.5 trillion, is a done deal for the price tag, and it's a done deal for the passage of it. They are advancing this one as well. I'll explain what's going on with the recon vote coming up later in this video, and I'll go over the $3.5 trillion of checks you're getting under this recon. It's incredible, great news. Then in the final 15 of the final 7 minutes, oh boy, I said that wrong. The final 15 minutes of the final 7 days, oh boy, you are going to see so many moving parts. There's another vote called for tonight. It's confirmed. There's another vote thought that may be happening in the next 24 to 40 hours. I'll go over that as well. There were 3 emergency meetings held overnight. There are new Democrats taking strange new positions. I'll explain that as well. And there's Nancy watching your back. I have all those details coming up in the final 15 of the final 7, stay to the very end. But first, here's a preview of fifth stimulus. It raises your benefits a lifetime. But boy, there's a new economic data today. Does that help the inflation rate? I'll explain all the details coming up later in this video. But first, the money. I was recording on this channel, videos about 3 weeks ago where I said I could get you $5,000 for rent, 4 to 6 months of rent. Utilities, I said $300 for utilities, and SNAP, $4,000 or $5,000. And then this. You are absolutely killing it. In the last 48 hours, these have been the success stories of you, the viewer on this channel. Richard got $22,000 for rent. Angela, $5,000 for utilities. Carla, $1,700 for utilities and $3,000 in SNAP. So she got $20,000 for this channel. $3,000 for this channel. Pamela, $12,000 of rent. Nancy, $24,000 of rent, $7,000 for utilities, $5,000 for SNAP. That's over $32,000. Tiffany got close to $15,000, $13,000 for rent, SNAP, and also utilities. Randy got rent and utilities amounting to $8,000, and then Mark got $25,000 of rent, $65 for utilities. Angela, $5,000 for utilities. These are just incredible numbers. And there's John, who got $10,000 to $12,000 for utilities. Louis, $18,000, and Nisi, $23,000. What's going on? This is what's going on. I'm going to show you how you get this big money as well. It's money for rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, and homeowners' utilities. Get a pen and paper ready. I'm going to show you in this video how you get this big money. What's happening here? This is what this channel has done since day one. This channel was launched in April last year because EIDL loan grants and checks were not coming. There was no check to track. But I stepped in, I got people a lot of checks, $25 million of them to cash of that EIDL loans that I got approved. In fall of 2020, second stimulus was not coming because the check was not passed. There was no check to track again. But I stepped in, I got viewers, $250,000 of rent, like Tyrone Family 4 out of Boston. Cash those checks. This channel and you are about cashing checks, not tracking them. And now you're doing it again. You are delivering numbers I have never seen in the history of this channel. So get a pen and paper ready. I'm going to show you different places to get this money. Each place has different eligibility. If one says no, reach out to the next. And also listen to the keywords, because apparently the keywords is what's helping viewers get approved. All right, you ready? You're going to reach out to your city hall, your city housing authority, your county hall, your county housing authority, your state hall, your state housing authority. The keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, or mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. Those are the keywords you use. You don't use words they don't know, like stimulus or Mitch's popularity contest. Did he win? Yeah, they don't know this. No one knows about this. And so there you go. Congratulations, Tim and Linda and all these other viewers on the money for rent and utilities. And if you got money for rent and utilities, post in the live chat right now. Let's turn to SNAP. What is SNAP? SNAP is money for food. How do you get it? Department of Agriculture. Who has gotten for this channel? John got $10,000 to $12,000. Louis, $18,000. Lynn Glenn got it for herself, her son, and her mom. Gail got as well. How much does it pay? A fortune. Family 4 out of Hawaii gets upwards of $16,000 a year. Whoa, why so much money? Because of 2 wonderful executive orders, one from Biden, one from Trump, that raise your benefits up 15%. So go get it. And if you got in Snap, post in the live chat as well. And we're killing it. We're only 11 minutes of this video, and we've gotten all this fortune. $35,000 a viewer, $5,000 for rent, which has now grown to $25,000 of rent. $300 for utilities, which has now grown to $8,000 for utilities, and SNAP, which I thought was $5,000, is now at $18,000. Now we're turning to the next pot of money. It's the money coming back from your states due to computer error and overpayment. One viewer got this as well, $4,000 yesterday, and 2 other viewers have gotten $3,500, $5,000. What is this? This is the overpayment of unemployment benefits from your state due to computer error. The federal government has ordered returned back to you. Where? Direct deposit. Can you track it? Yeah, call up your state and say, "Hi, state, where's that check to do overpayment and computer error? And can you track it with a computer that actually works this time?" And the last wonderful pot of the money is the refund check coming back from IRS. Margaret got it, Cod got it, Michael got it, and we have an update about this as well. It is a waivable check. Sorry, Mitch. And this waivable check comes in waves throughout the summer. The latest wave was $1,265. Direct deposit started July 14th. Paper checks July 16th. A new wave every week. Well, first, before we go more into that, if you have not posted your success story in the live chat for rent, utility, SNAP, please do, because you're helping other viewers. It's viewers helping viewers is the spirit and love of this channel. 3 things happen when you do that. Number 1, when you post your success story, it inspires other people to get the money. If you're sitting at home and watching this video and realizing, wait a second, these people are getting $25,000 of rent, $30,000 across the board for multiple items, $18,000 for SNAP, $8,000, $7,000 for utilities. I should go get it. You're inspiring other people every time you get something to inspire them to go get it as well. Number 2, Art Sullivan inspired a lot of viewers. He got 3 items, and from him, other people were inspired. For example, Nisi got 3 items. She got $23,000 from this channel. You now see how Nisi and Art have sort of snowballed or domino effect other viewers. Now we have Nancy getting $30-something thousand for 3 items. Mark getting $30,000 plus dollars from 2 items. And finally, we're getting an update about the numbers. All right, let's get back to that unemployment benefits. Where is that coming? In direct deposit in the mail. When this month? How much would it be? Let's say you had $9,000 of unemployment benefits. You paid $5,000 taxes, of which $4,000 was taxes on unemployment benefits. Congratulations, came back $4,000. And can you track it? Yeah, go to irs.gov, do a transcript search, and 70% of the time it works. It'll reveal the taxes in your file, the taxes you paid, and then reveal some stuff that you never knew. Some stuff you never wanted to know. Stuff you wish you forgot. Like when Mitch was on Star Search doing the spokesperson contest. Was that Amazon hair? Was it Amazon hair? Did I have to air tag him for that? Sir Lloyd would have an opinion about that one. And there you go. The fourth, and also it'll reveal the tax return refund check it came back from IRS 70% of the time. Can we top that? We can, as we go into the second part of your fourth stimulus check update, starting right now. Here we go. Done deal. The recon is a done deal for price tag and for passage. The Democratic senators met a week ago today and agreed upon the price tag, $3.5 trillion. It's a done deal for the price tag. Number two, they also agreed that it's a functionally done, with the exception of calling the vote on the legislation. And number three, you're going to see later in this video that it's done to advance to the bill voting stage. So we're really at the edge of the finish line. How do we get to this wonderful spot? They took roads and bridges out of the recon around July 4th, because at the time, it was not passable with roads and bridges. Took those roads and bridges out and put them into the bipartisan and made now both of them passable. I've been telling you over the last week they're both passable. They now became both passable this week, as both of them have now effectively been advanced in the Senate, confirming my reporting. Well, my reporting was also confirmed a week earlier when I told you it would become passable by taking roads and bridges out of the recon and putting it into the bipartisan. And a conservative op-ed confirmed my reporting by saying the following: the higher the price tag was on the recon earlier on, the harder it was to pass. There you go, confirmation. But by allowing the Democrats at the time to take out certain items from the recon and put in the bipartisan roads and bridges, it made the recon smaller, obviously. In other words, the bipartisan deal made the recon passable. And as you now know, the recon and the bipartisan are now set up to be passed. They are passable. And have they passed, then they have advanced beyond that stage. How did they get to this spot? Well, they took the roads and bridges out of the recon, and once they did, the progressives were able to add a little bit more back in, getting a big, bold, beautiful number of $3.5 trillion for the recon. Deal done. Representative Ilhan Omar had spoke about the importance of this before that price tag. We need a recon that goes as far as we want it. You got it, Elon. $3.5 trillion. Congratulations. And then Representative Richie Torres, Democrat of New York, said we have to have a larger recon. You got it, Richie. $3.5 trillion. Congratulations. And the Progressive Caucus was meeting with the White House daily to ensure the recon went big enough. They got it. $3.5 trillion. How did they achieve this? Because the president was telling the progressives, protect my recon, because the progressive priorities in the recon are my priorities. In fact, that was the exact quote that Brian Schatz reported to us, Democrat Hawaii progressive, about what the White House had told him. Protect the recon because the progressive priorities in the recon are the White House's own priorities. Whoa. So now let's go over what a recon is, how it gets written, how it becomes a bill format, when do we see it, and everything you need to know. And also separate the words and understand all the words that you need to understand to go forward with this video. You see in my recordings, I only use two words: recon for our bill and bipartisan for the roads and bridges legislation. Those are two easy words, but the problem is not here, but elsewhere. Elsewhere, broadcast media is doing a C+ to an F grade of reporting on the subject matter because sometimes they're using multiple words for the same thing, confusing viewers. Or, in some cases, they're using the word for one path to describe the other path. They're mixing things up. So let's go over the words so you can see when sometimes they're error and you'll be ahead of the ball. First, recon. That's the word I use on this channel. Your money, also called reconciliation. You may see it also called the budget bill. You'll recognize it by its price tag, $3.5 trillion. You'll recognize it by the people talking about it, like a Bernie Sanders or AOC. Then the other path, bipartisan, also called roads and bridges. You'll recognize it by its words, like roads and bridges, or also called the infrastructure. You'll recognize it by its price tag, less than $1.5 trillion, and the people quoting the article about it, like a Ron Portman, Kristen Sinema, or Mitt Romney. Okay, now that made that sort of easy. Now let's go over how you create a recon. A reconciliation is written by Democrats for Democrats to be passed by Democrats. The actual authors are House subcommittees as lead authors, with the Senate subcommittees helping them. When they're writing them, and they're delegating different subjects under the Constitution. So, for example, the Constitution has the House Ways and Means Committee responsible for writing about stimulus checks and unemployment extensions or unemployment stimulus. And when those subcommittees in the House are done, let's say there's 10 of them with 10 pages, they send all their pages done up to Schuck. 10 of 10, 100 pages combined, and there you go. He puts a big S on it. For salty, add some salt. No. Sassy. No. Seductive. Seductive Schumer. Laverne and Shirley. No, for Senate. Senate. And that is then finally your recon bill. We have two emojis for this on this channel. First, not bill yet. That's where we are right now, that emoji. And then when we see the recon, not law yet. More about that in a second. Here's what you need to know before that, is that while the Democrats are working in subcommittees about this, there's no constitutional requirement for transparency. They have to show you what they're writing, what they're not writing, what they're voting against, what they're taking and they're taking out. They don't have to show you. And they're not showing you the recon in finished format yet. Sort of like a pop singer who has an upcoming album, doesn't want you to hear the songs of the track. No particular reason. She just wants to debut the album as a complete force together. Well, that's what the Democrats are doing about the recon. And that's what broadcast media agrees with me as well. When you see the recon, we see it. But until then, we don't see it. And so if you do see someone that's a naysayer, anywhere saying something like, I haven't heard of this in that, well, the reason why you haven't heard it is because it's not bill yet. And more about how when it becomes bill, that's not law yet, later in this video. And that's critical. It's the final 15 minutes of the video. But how do we get to this wonderful spot? By Jalopal, who had written Schumer a letter recently saying, chuck all the vote on the recon. This letter is even more important today. You're going to find out in a second. The letter was signed by 12 House Democrats, part of the 100 plus, who had written the president a letter saying, we're going to be putting monthly forced stimulus checks in the forced stimulus package. Whoa. You got to keep them to that promise. That's 100 people. That's a lot. Can we top that? We can. As 7 members of that House Ways and Means Subcommittee, the same one we were just talking about? Yeah, the same one. The House Ways and Subcommittee, 7 members wrote the president a letter saying, when we write that fourth stimulus recon, we're writing monthly fourth stimulus checks in there. Whoa, you got to keep them to their promise, Purple Power. That's a big promise they're making to us. They got to keep their promise. They also wrote us third stimulus checks recon, and they represent they're giving you fifth next year, not to overlap with fourth. Boy, can we top that? We can. As Biden did it, the global minimum corporate tax rate, a ceremonial signature 6 weeks ago, starting tomorrow, became actual law just a few days ago. It's now law. And while it's a confusing thing to say, it's literally confusing. And that's why it's great that it's not in the recon. Number one, it's easier to write the recon because this confusing thing ain't in there. The global minimum corporate tax rate minimum. Ugh. It's easier to call the vote on the recon because this confusing thing ain't in there. Easier to vote on the recon because this confusing thing ain't in there. And easier to pass the recon because this confusing thing in there. Can we top that? We can. The final 15 minutes of this video will go over the final 7 days. And folks, it's all breaking news. It's all in the last few minutes. It's all overnight. It's literally all over the place. There's just a lot of moving parts in these final 15 minutes. So get that coffee ready. Get those feet uncurled. Get your back in the chair because I'm going to give you a lot of information in the final 15 minutes. It's information overload. And it will answer a lot of your questions you've had. It will answer some of the questions I've had. And it's coming up in just a second. Also with fifth stimulus. But can we top that? We can. If you've had problems getting the money for rent, utilities, SNAP, or internet, don't worry because other viewers are going to help you. Who are they? They're the volunteers. It's viewers helping other viewers. It's their salt of the earth. And that's the spirit of this channel, people loving for other people. How do you find them? Open the description of this video. Go down the description and you'll see an emoji of a house. Not Nancy's. It'll send you a link to the community page. It's news.la.com/community. On the community page, you'll see pictures of kitty cats. They're not the volunteers. They're just kitty cats. Go down the page. You'll see the volunteers separated from Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. They'll help you with that, getting that rent, that utilities, that mortgage, and that internet. If you tried it yourself and you can't get these $25,000, $35,000 numbers, then reach out to the volunteers. They'll help you get as well. And I'll be back with you 60 seconds with the final 15 of the final 7. It's a lot of breaking news, and I can't wait to deliver it to you. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. They're Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals. Reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. The toast is toast and the butter is buttering. I'm here, you're here, and Morning to LA goes into the final 15 of the final 7. A jam-packed broadcast with really 15 minutes of a lot of news happening overnight. An emergency meeting with Nancy Pelosi and Maxine Waters. An emergency meeting with Nancy Pelosi and Bernie Sanders. An emergency meeting across the board on many different subject matters. I'll be going over all that details coming up in a second. But first, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers on YouTube record. I want you part of this channel. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes. Every like helps. And consider becoming a member. All this day, you'll see new shows. You're going to see me back on air with Mornings Crypto in just a few minutes, live on air. The noontime, live on air. Afternoons, LA New, and afternoons, LA New. Moreover, stay with me this weekend because these legislators are working all weekend long. Do not cash out and leave me for 2 days and come back on Monday. You'll miss the entire news cycle. And there's a lot of things happening, and it will be very confusing to catch up by Monday. So stay with me on Saturday and Sunday. Let's cut to what the president did and did not do with this stimulus. During the campaign trail, the president promised that he was going to take care of raising people's benefits if they are on SSI and SSDI VA benefits. He did not deliver it. So the Democratic senators and House members are taking care of it for you. This is fifth stimulus. When would this happen? This would be starting in September, going to a vote about in October, November. So you would see the hit of the account about in November, and then the lift of your benefits in about a December. This is fifth stimulus. What are the deal provisions? First, they'd raise your benefits up one big time. Next, they would remove the asset limit, then add an inflationary benchmark. Remove the income exclusion and remove the marriage penalty. Let's go over how this works starting right now. Who gets this? You do. They'll first raise all your benefits up one big time. Who? You. SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits, SSA, or multiple beneficiaries. First, they'll raise your benefits up one big time. Next step, they'd apply the new benchmark. When? About in December. What will be the new benchmark? Inflation. Where is inflation going? It's going to be transitory, says Jay Powell, your head of the Federal Reserve, last week on Capitol Hill. What does that word mean? It means it's going to go to a temporary spike. When? Exactly when they apply your benchmark. Oh boy, that's great news. It's perfect timing for us. How high? Well, the new PPI number that came out this morning was red hot again, folks. Oh boy, it was hot. One of the hottest numbers they've seen in a while. That suggests inflation is still hot. Last week and this week, Wall Street was using my number. They think the transitory number will be 5% in December. So let's do that analysis. First, they'll raise your benefits up a lifetime. Then they'll apply the benchmark. Let's say it's 5%. That would raise your benefits up another 5%. Whoa, that's great news because once it steps up, it never steps down. That's lifetime. So if the inflation rate is 2% the year after that, you'll be plus 2, plus 5%. Then they're going to remove the asset cap, dating back to a 1980s law that says you can't have more than $3,000 in hand. Now you'll be able to have some muddled blue. Did you just call this muddled? There's nothing muddled about this. You'll be able to have some Crayola blue in your hand. and some stimulus checks. They're going to remove the income cap dating back to a 1960s law that says you can't work and stay on benefits. And finally, the marriage penalty is going to go away. You'll be able to do a pair dance because you will be able to get married just like Rob and Sandy and no longer fear the marriage penalty. And if you were married and you lost benefits, they will be restored. Pair dances for all. That's for stimulus. But boy, if you're in the live chat and you notice people that have a purple hawk next to their name and you don't have one and you wonder, wait a second, they're getting these numbers? They're getting $6,500 of utilities like Mark. And then Lynn getting $1,500 for rent and $300 for utilities. And her son got $5,000 refund check. How are they doing this? And Nancy getting 23 and 7 and 5, $30,000. How are they doing this? They're becoming a member. The link is under the video where it says join here. By becoming a member, you're delivered from me daily to you a breakdown of all the big money that's available for you under third stimulus. When fourth stimulus becomes law, I will be getting that money for you as well. This is fortunes. Sharon Apperson this morning said that financial freedom comes from information. When you know to get money, you know where it is. If you don't know the money exists, you never get it. These are all application-based under third stimulus. When second stimulus passed, it was a $600 stimulus check. I said, yeah, but I'll get you $6,000. I got Tyrone $15,000 out of Boston. When third stimulus passed in spring of this year, I said, yeah, it's a $1,400 stimulus check, but I'll get you $14,000. I'm getting Nancy $30,000, Mark $30,000, Richard $22,000, Neezy $23,000. Consider becoming a member so you get these big sums of money. The link's under the chat and pinned comment. And with that, we go right into the final 15 of the final 7 starting right now. In these final 15 minutes, you're going to see a lot of information. I know it's going to be overload, but I'm going to try to make it as easy and understandable for you in a very complex environment. We're going to start first with the recon. Your money. Done. Deal. $3.5 trillion of checks are coming to the American people under the recon. A week ago today, the Democratic senators agreed upon the price tag. This is critical, as Tim Kaine says, because once you agree upon the price tag, you've effectively agreed upon the bill. All you have to do is agree upon how they split that money among the different programs. Number 2, Bernie Sanders called that price tag historic. He went to the meetings asking for $7 trillion, agreed to 3.5, which is exactly half, saying I got all my programs funded exactly how I wanted, just short a period of time, obviously about half the percent of the time. So done as to the price tag, and all they have to do is call the vote on it. More about where that vote is on the recon coming up in 1 second. But while we do not have the bill yet, not bill yet, emoji for that, not law yet, more about that later in the video, I have some of the provisions that are in the recon. Remember, this is money for everyone, not just money for children. That was third stimulus. Here you go. Here are some of the checks in the recon for you. Free school meals for all checks. Tax break checks. Cheaper prescription medication checks. Immigration reform checks. Cleaner, greener farming checks. Election checks. Internet checks. Free internet checks. They're going to give fortunes to local cities so they can launch a free internet companies across the country in different cities and then give you free internet. And then here come checks for clean energy. And finally, here come the checks for my workers and my checks for my seniors. For workers, checks for independent contractors, collective bargaining and union checks. And then my seniors, checks for Medicare expansion, checks for lowering eligibility age, checks for dental, checks for vision, and checks for hearing care. Wow. Let's cut now over to the roads and bridges for a second. So the roads and bridges a week ago, or last week, had a vote. What was that roads and bridges vote about? To end discussion on the roads and bridges. At the time, I said it was going to fail because it was too premature, but I said it was going to work because it was going to get people fire under their feet to get them moving. It did fail, and it did get them moving. It failed last week. So then on Wednesday, after working all weekend long, and they're working this weekend as well, so stay with me this weekend, because there's a lot of news happening this weekend. After working all last weekend, the bipartisan people got that ready to call for a vote again on Wednesday. What was the Wednesday vote this week? Again, it was the same vote to end discussion on the roads and bridges, what is also called advancing the legislation. And it did pass. It passed with resounding support by the GOP members of the Senate. Remember, we're in the Senate when we're talking about this. So what's happening tonight? They're calling the same vote again. Why? Just to make sure they're working on it. Yeah. I know, it sounds a little weird. I mean, you just had the same vote on Wednesday. It passed. Why do you have to do it again? Because it's basically saying, don't stop working. I need to get you done. So it's not like you pass it and then the next stop is Neverland. It's like, no, we don't have the bill ready for a vote, so I need to ensure you're done with this, and we're advancing. So Chuck is going to call the same vote. I need to explain this to you because you're going to hear, you're like, wait a second, is that the same thing you've done twice before? Yeah, it will be the same thing they've done twice before. So the bipartisan will be called for a vote to advance it, or a vote to end discussion, however you want to call it, that failed last week and passed on Wednesday, and it will pass again tonight. Just keep on doing those. Next, let's go back over to the recon. The recon is likely to get the same type of vote in the next 48 hours because on Wednesday, Leader Schumer asked his senators if they would vote in favor of advancing the recon or ending the discussion, and he got 50 of 50 Democratic senators to say yes. So that vote to end discussion on the recon is likely to come in the next 48 hours as well. That is not confirmed, but is likely to come in the next 48 hours. So with the two items, recon and the bipartisan, both likely to advance. Okay, now let's go to the assurances. Chuck Schumer in the last 48 hours has given us assurances that the bipartisan and the recon will become law by the August recess. Whoa. So remember, they're starting on the Senate over to the House and back to the Senate. So he represents all this will be done by the August recess. Huge, huge, huge. All right, now let's go to those emergency meetings. Why were there emergency meetings and what were they about overnight? First emergency meeting came from Bernie Sanders going to Nancy Pelosi. The topic of the emergency meeting was the order in which things are voted on in the Senate side and the House side. There were also comments said yesterday by a series of Democratic senators as to the order of things voted on in the Senate. And there were comments by Schumer, an absence of comments by Schumer in the last 48 hours about order of things called on the Senate side. Let me do all this together. What is the totality of this? Number one, we are starting on the Senate side. You've always known this. We're starting on the Senate side for the recon and the bipartisan, and then going to the House, and then going back to the Senate. So Nancy Pelosi has publicly said again in the last 48 hours, you, Senate, do not give me, Nancy Pelosi, the bipartisan roads and bridges first for the House, or I throw in the garbage. That's basically what she said. She's not mincing her words. You do not give me the bipartisan first, or it goes in the garbage. You send me the recon passed first, the $3.5 trillion. You send that to me passed by the Senate to the House first. And then you send me the roads and bridges, not the reverse. If you send me the roads and bridges first, I'm throwing the garbage and you're never going to see the light of day. So she has said that over the last month. The president has said that. Chuck Schumer said this earlier in the month. AOC said 1,000 times. Paul said 1,000 times. So what did Bernie Sanders say to Nancy? Absolutely the same thing. So why is Bernie Sanders having an emergency meeting? This is why I'm bringing this up to you. Because there were certain Democratic senators, yes, you heard me right, Democratic senators, who yesterday said, well, the roads and bridges are done. This is the exact quote. The roads and bridges are done, and it's great to go back for the August recess with a victory to our home state. And let's just show them that we passed some legislation with roads and bridges. Just call the roads and bridges for a vote first. Yeah, Senate Democrats actually said that. Not just one, a few. So Bernie Sanders, a senator and who caucuses with the Democrats, even though he's independent, went to Nancy Pelosi and said, we have an issue here. There's certain Senate Democrats who are trying to call the vote on the roads and bridges before the bipartisan. Nancy Pelosi's position is, I have no control of what the Senate does. But when it comes to my home, you're not going to send me the roads and bridges first. I'll throw it in the garbage can. So what did Chuck Schumer do in the last 40 hours? Well, here is what I am attentive to. I'm not going to say worry, but I'm attentive to. I have not seen Chuck Schumer say in the last 48 hours that the recon still goes for a vote before the bipartisan. I'm watching for that quote from Chuck because I've not seen it since about 2 weeks ago. Nancy's saying it nonstop this week. Bernie Sanders is saying it nonstop. Chuck has not mentioned it. And now I hear Senate Democrats saying, call the vote on the infrastructure, call the vote on the infrastructure. So does this worry me? No, because remember, even if the Democrats do in the Senate get the roads and bridges to a vote first before the recon, it will go in the garbage can when it lands in Nancy's house. She's not going to take it. So now let's go to the other emergency order. There's just so many emergency meetings overnight. Maxine Waters, House member from here in Los Angeles, had an emergency meeting with Nancy Pelosi last night. And the emergency meeting was on a different subject matter, an extension of the federal eviction moratorium, renters eviction moratorium, to be done as an emergency bill in the next 24 to 48 hours. Yeah. It's not clear if the bill has already been introduced to the House floor, but the purpose of the emergency meeting was to tell Nancy, you need to call for a vote on the House floor, then send it to the Senate. I don't know if it's going to pass, but Maxine Waters and Nancy Pelosi have reached an agreement. They're going to try to get an emergency passage of the extension of the federal eviction moratorium in the next 48 hours. I don't understand how this works, I'll be very frank, because my understanding is the eviction moratorium started by executive order under Donald Trump, and I don't understand how you would extend something by legislation of an executive order, so I'm not going to really go near it. I just want to report to you what they're doing, and it's going to happen very, very quickly. I know this is the end of the week. They're going to try to work on this over the weekend, so this is also happening. All right, now let's go back to the bill and the vote. This is so important because I have to always stay with this and end with this. Remember, we have two emojis, not bill yet, not law yet. We still do not have the recon, emoji, not bill yet. When we see the recon bill, it'll show up on the Senate side with that S on it, not for salt, but for Senate. And when you see that recon, it's not law yet. And I really have to hit that hard. You need to know that verbatim because there's actually Democratic members of both the Senate and House saying, you know what? You've had this recon in these subcommittees now for a month or two. I've not been able to even touch it. What, do you think I'm elected to Congress not to touch things? I'm going to touch it. I'm going to modify things if I want to modify it. What's important for you to understand is that the subcommittees that are House members are not a lot of people. It's not like there's hundreds of thousands of people in these subcommittees. There's just a few people. And when it lands on the Senate floor, the Senate Democrats say they want their hands at it to modify stuff. And when it lands on the House floor, they say they want their hands on it to modify it. That's great news for you. Because when we see the recon, it may be imperfect. It may not be what it's in there. It may not have in there what they represent they're going to give you. Or it may be perfect. And ultimately, you want to be able to have the opportunity to make changes. And they will make changes. Next stop is Senate floor, then the House. And they've already said they're making changes. They said last week. They said again this week. And then back to the Senate for a two-day vote-a-rama. Finally, it's important to understand that there's a lot of moving parts. And with all those moving parts, let me give you a recap. Number one, two bodies of legislation. Recon, $3.5 trillion of checks to the American people. Those checks are confirmed. These are checks for seniors and checks for medicine. But the deal provisions we have not seen yet, beyond the ones that I detailed earlier in this video. Then roads and bridges. Smaller price tag, bipartisan legislation. Both of them are advancing quickly in the Senate. Neither has debuted its bill. We do not yet have a bill for the recon, and we do not yet have a bill publicly for the bipartisan. Chuck Schumer is doing things called advancing it or ending discussion to make sure they're still on point. He promises both of them will pass before the August recess. The order in which they're called for a vote on the House side is the most critical. It's more important than even the Senate side. Because if those senators do try to take the roads and bridges and call that for a vote before the recon, that would not have any impact upon Nancy Pelosi because she'll just throw it in the garbage. Finally, it's important to note that the news cycle is changing very quickly. I know that people like to be informed and like to be educated, but please try to self-restrain in jumping into the comments to say, you read an article 2 days ago that said things. Things are literally changing by the hour. And if you quote a Kristen Sinema comment from 3 days ago, it's already outdated. Sometimes it's outdated in 2 hours. Or you quote a Joe Manchin comment or a Ron Portman quote. Things are changing very, very, very quickly. And so please do not try to use some self-restraint and jump in the comments saying, I heard or I read, unless it's something that literally is a breaking news story in the last few minutes. Try to use some self-restraint because it just confuses the situation. That is, as you see, very complicated just to start. Ultimately, purple power you have to push, because in these final days, things can get modified, and they can get modified for the positive across the board. And with that, I look forward to seeing you next on Mornings Cryptos, coming up right after this video, live on air. And then we go into noontime at 11 a.m., live on air as well. We have new shows on Afternoons LA today at 3 o'clock, and Evenings LA, and then Overnights Crypto. All new shows, and all weekend long will be new as well. Stay with me all weekend. Please do not cash out and take a weekend off and come back on Monday, because it will be too much information to catch up on. Stay with me all Saturday and Sunday as long as well. And with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this family. Incredible, incredible success story. Send me your success stories on social media, like the rent, utilities, and Snap. Keep on pushing. These are huge sums of money. I want you to be successful like this. This is the spirit of this channel, with viewers helping viewers. A lot of love. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Join me in just 3 minutes from now as Mornings Crypto gets underway. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.